What is going on YouTube? Running Gun Sports back here with another video. Today is our weekly NFL news update. Not much news to talk about today, not the greatest news really either. And so we are going to be releasing our preseason top 5 teams heading into the 2021-2022 NFL season. So if you have not already, please leave a like down below on this video or any other video that you watch. Share this to your friends who love football, and follow us on our social media pages at runandgun_sports on Instagram and Run and Gun Sports on TikTok. With that being said, let's get right into the video. Sam Darnold has been traded to the Carolina Panthers in exchange for a 2021 6th-round pick and a 2022 second and 4th-round pick. So Carolina sends over the 3 draft picks. The Jets send over Sam Darnold. In my opinion, I think that it's honestly not a bad trade for both teams. I don't think there's really any winners or losers yet. I think that right now that's a pretty balanced trade. Sam Darnold obviously hasn't had his greatest years of playing football, and probably not even in the NFL level. His greatest years have been in college at USC, and so I think that even though the Jets give up a first round quarterback, for literally the 3rd overall pick in the draft when they picked him up out of USC, I think that the Carolina Panthers did not give up too much for him. So that's why I do think it's a good move, in my opinion, for the Panthers, because a 6th, a 4th, and a 2nd round pick. The 2nd round pick is going to will be questionable if Sam Darnold does not do anything. But also at the same time, it's a decent pick, and we already knew that the Jets or the Panthers are going to go for a quarterback in the 1st round, and the Panthers still might be going for a quarterback. And I've said this a lot about Sam Darnold. I still think that his time in the NFL, his chance at being a decent quarterback in the NFL are over. I don't think that at all. I do think that he just had the worst receiving core in the NFL by far with the New York Jets. So I think that the Panthers obviously have a better receiving core with Robbie Anderson. He played in New York with Sam Darnold. So we'll see what happens there in Carolina. I do think it will be a decent move. We'll see if the Panthers do select a quarterback in the draft, but obviously that Jets will most likely be picking up a quarterback now. Can't imagine they wouldn't be with the 2nd overall pick in the draft. Former Vikings cornerback Jeff Gladney turns himself in to Dallas police on a felony domestic violence charge. He was arrested on Tuesday, April 6th, and he's been arrested at the Dallas jail. Unfortunate news just for any NFL team, but especially the Vikings organization, and tough for the Vikings, and just not good news to hear. Hopefully, Jeff Gladney turns it around after he serves his time in jail, and we hope that the victims of his crime are doing better now that he is locked up. So unfortunate news coming out. More unfortunate news coming out of the NFL. Ex-NFL and 49ers player Philip Adams found responsible for a 6-person shooting in which he shot himself. All 6 people died, including himself. So just even worse news, really, really unfortunate for any NFL team. Our prayers go out to anyone in any of the victims' families involved in the tragic shooting. Unfortunately, all 6 people did die, and so just bad news there. Switching gears now, we are going to be releasing our top 5 teams for the 2021-2022 NFL season. So this is our preseason list, so we might make changes to it at the end of the free agency and whatnot. So this is just a kind of a rough draft of our preseason top 5 teams. We'll probably release in one of our later news update videos our projection video, so stay tuned for that. So if you have not subscribed, obviously please subscribe to us for when that comes out later, probably around August. So with that being said, at number 5 I do have the Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns last year were just a game short of making the AFC Championship, and I think the Browns versus the Bills, would have been a very good game considering the fact that the Chiefs absolutely blew the Browns away. And I think that the Browns, they have a really young team, and so I think they'll definitely be back. Baker Mayfield, Nick Chubb, Odell Beckham Jr., Jarvis Landry are all fairly young players, so I think that the future is definitely very bright for that Browns team. And I've said this before, the Browns are always going to be an underdog team no matter what, even if they've won all 17 games in the season. So I think that they really take that mentality, and they took it and run with it. And I just think that they'll have a good season coming up, and they just got to figure out the defensive backs. They don't have many good defensive backs. They're fairly young, but if they can put the pieces together at defensive back, I think they'll have in the defensive backfield. I think they'll have no problem competing for the AFC. No, at number 4, I have the Los Angeles Rams. The Los Angeles Rams last year, obviously second in their division. They defeated the Seattle Seahawks in the first round of the playoffs, and by 10 points, 30-20 was the final score of that game. And I think that the Rams, their defense, they have the best defense in the league in my opinion. I'd say the Bucs are about second, but their offense was really struggling last year. Jared Goff was not the greatest fit at the quarterback position for that team. He could get the ball out, but he couldn't do it very effectively and efficiently. So I think that obviously bringing in Matthew Stafford's a good fit, and they exchanged Matthew Stafford for Jared Goff. And Matthew Stafford, who's had some time in Detroit, do I think that Matthew Stafford can come in and win a Super Bowl the first year with the Los Angeles Rams? Absolutely not. I don't think that that's going to happen. I do think that he can make a deep playoff run like the Rams did last year. I think they could possibly make it to the NFC Championship this time versus when they lost to the Packers. And I think that the Rams, their defense is just so good that it would take a lot for them to not have a great season next year, just considering Jalen Ramsey, Aaron Donald, Samson Ibuka. A lot of those guys are coming back. I could go on and on naming guys on that defensive team, and so great offseason for the Rams, and signing Matthew Stafford is a good move in my opinion. But they also just did sign Deshaun Jackson, so I think we'll see how Matthew Stafford will fit in with that Los Angeles Rams team. At number 3, the team we just talked about in our Buffalo Bills weekly or off-season review is the Buffalo Bills, obviously, and I think that the Bills, they were just so close last year, and we thought that the Bills versus Chiefs game was going to be one of the greatest games that we'd seen this season. Did not turn out to be. The defense just really gave up on their part, really didn't show up to play in that game, and they shut the Chiefs out 9-0 in the first quarter, and a 2-score lead against the Kansas City Chiefs means absolutely nothing with Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, and Travis Kelce. It means nothing really, and I think that was insanely obvious when the Chiefs scored 21 points in the second quarter on the Buffalo Bills defense, and more than half their points came in that second quarter, and it's just unacceptable to give up that many points in just one quarter, and that's why they lost the game. But I think if they can get a better defense next year, they'll have a great season, make it to the AFC Championship game without a doubt. Hopefully it'll be a closer game for them. At number 2, the Kansas City Chiefs, I just mentioned. Patrick Mahomes is coming off of a disappointing year for him. He had a great year stats-wise, but he wanted to win back-to-back, run it back, as the Kansas City Chiefs say. And I think that they were so close. I just think that Tom Brady and that Buccaneers team was just way too much for him. And experience in the Super Bowl, it really does matter. Not as much as you think it would, but Tom Brady and the Buccaneers team was just so good in that game, and their defense was great. The Chiefs defense really couldn't stop Tom Brady. And I think that Tom Brady in all his games I mentioned, he outplayed every quarterback, and he played 3 future Hall of Fame quarterbacks. So it's really impressive considering the fact that Tom Brady is at the age he is and still winning Super Bowls, the most Super Bowls any player, let alone any team, has won. So it's just ridiculous. But the Chiefs will be back for sure. I would be shocked if the Chiefs don't win a Super Bowl in the next 5 years. So they need to figure out the run game, and they got to figure out the defense needs to be a little more stronger. But the run game was really one of the bigger parts of that, because when Mahomes is being chased around like that, they have no one to hand the ball off to, and then they really don't have any offense at all. So that's why I just think that The Chiefs are second, and why are they behind the Bucks? People may ask. Well, I just think that the Bucks are returning 22 out of 22 starters from the last year, which is insane. I don't know how many Super Bowl winning teams have done that before. And that brings us to our number one team on our list, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Last year, the most complete team by far. During the regular season, really versus that Rams game that they lost, a lot of people were expecting them to be done. Tom Brady really didn't play very well in primetime games, especially, and they turned it around. They sailed the ship, turned it around, and I think that was big for their momentum, really. And that the Buccaneers, they went on to win the Super Bowl, went on a great run, really winning each game by 2 scores. The closest game of the entire playoffs was versus the Washington football team. Taylor Heineke, man, what a story he was, and it'll be exciting to see what he does next year with that Washington football team. But the Bucks returning 22 out of 22 starters is a ridiculous stat, and it just gives them such a big advantage. All those guys have played together. When you have teams that have to try and work out some of the kinks and nicks of guys not playing together before, and the team chemistry is already going to be there. These guys are coming off the Super Bowl. I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have the greatest shot to repeat a Super Bowl championship than modern history. I just think that with all those guys coming back, Tom Brady's still the leader of that team, the face of that franchise. It's going to be really hard to knock those guys off. That is going to wrap it up for today's video. If you guys have not already, please subscribe and leave a like down below. Our college football weekly news review video will be coming out on Tuesday, so stay tuned for that. Thanks.